I'm the chair of the AFE Professional Certification Subcommittee. There are two committees, the professional certification, the academic certification, and today we're only going to talk about the professional certifications, and that is for individuals to get certified along 11 tracks that we offer. Presentation today is I'd like to introduce the three speakers. I've already introduced myself. Annie Oxenard, probably you've already know, is the executive director for AFE, and she is she coordinates all the does stuff for all the professional certification subcommittee. And we also have Stephen Fillmore on. He's on a fire, but I think he's back now. And Stephen is in charge of the new wildland fuels certification, and he's going to talk about that quite a lot in the later. So the three of us are going to go. I'm going to start off, give you the background, and Stephen's going to talk about the fuels, and Annie will end up giving you all the details on how to go ahead and certify. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to start the PowerPoint I have. So you say you want to get certified. This is a really good thing. Becoming certified is a program that the Association for Fire Ecology developed some time ago, and they developed the wildland fire certification to promote ecologically based science and management of wildland fuels through accredited professions. We have over 200 people certified. It's a very good thing to do because becoming certified will make you formally acknowledges your education experience and everything that employers need to do to identify you as a true wildland fire fuel professional. No other association in fire offers this. The International Wildland Fire Association has allowed us to go ahead and make this certification program. So this is the only, if you're a fire person, this is the only one around. All certified professionals are recognized on the AFE website forever and ever. And a certification is forever unless you want to be recertified, and we'll get to that in a minute. I just have to relate a story, is that there was a government agency that had, most of you know that as soon as wildfires started to get on the front page of papers back in 1988, in the last 20, 30 years, a lot of funding has come down to go ahead and do fire ecology work. And the problem is how does somebody know, how do granting agencies know if you're actually doing fire ecology work? And I was on a committee that were deciding who should get the grants and who shouldn't. So I ended up saying, well, how about if we know that these people are fire ecologists, if they indeed are certified through the AFE program, and indeed that agency adopted that, and that's how they decided to go ahead and give credit to these people that were applying for grants. So it's incredibly important to be certified, both if you're in research and management. Again, we offer 11 pathways, I think now 12, and we'll talk about that in the future. If you're brand new to the field, you want to get certified as a technician, a practitioner, or a fuels technician. And then if you're in the management pathway, there we have the wildland fire manager, senior wildland fire manager. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the wildland fuels manager and the senior wildland fuels manager. And those are for management. And then we have the science pathway, which is if you're a professional, a researcher, or scientist, you might want to think of these four, which are the fire ecologist, senior fire ecologist, the wildland fuel scientist, and the senior wildland fuel scientist. These are very important, 11 certifications. You can get certified at each one. Unfortunately, the committee, which is composed of 4 other people, Ron Masters, myself, Stefan, and 2 others. And when we go ahead and evaluate, we only evaluate at the level or the pathway that you applied for. So if you applied high and expected that, okay, if they don't give me the senior wildland manager, I'll get the wildland fire manager. Well, that's not what happens. You have to apply to both at the same time. I want to say this, is that we just recently, about 6 years ago, updated the Wildland Fire Fuels Professional Certification Guidebook. Amy's going to give you the the link to that later on. But this guidebook now should be a way to give you enough information to go ahead and self-certify, which means that you should easily be able, using this guidebook, to go ahead and see if you indeed meet the requirements for being certified at any one of those 11 pathways. This guidebook is comprehensive. It's on the website, and it is what we, the committee, uses to evaluate you, and you can now use it to go ahead and evaluate yourself. So let's take a look at, just as an example, I hate to put this much detail in a slide, but I just want to show you the 3 initial certifications, the management pathway, and the science pathway. And you can see that we have minimum education and core competency requirements. And we have, so it's a twofold thing. We evaluate you for education or core competencies, and then we evaluate you for experience in the field. What happens is those two together, and there's a scoring system. And if you go above a certain score, you would get certified. So you can see here the different levels that you would need to meet in order to get this. Well, let's go through the academic requirements. Stephen later on is going to go through the core competencies that the wildland fuel professionals need. But in the academic requirements, this is really important. And if you're applying this year, you should really probably take some notes here, is that you have to have at least 3 college credits in each of these areas: fire ecology, fire science and management, general ecology, statistics, advanced ecology, measurement analysis, environmental sciences. You have to have at least 3 college credits in those areas. If you have a course that does not exactly fit a fire ecology course, what you can do is put that course down, and then what we do is we give you a score from 0 to 3. 0 means that course has nothing to do with the fire ecology, to 3 meaning that course is perfect fit for fire ecology. And I'll get to how we score it later. Okay, so if you have these 3 credits at least in each of these fields, you will definitely get certified. Okay, so here's our scoring system. A score of 3 indicates a perfect fit. In other words, you took a fire ecology course in college, and that exactly meets it. But let's say that you took a course in college called Ecological Biosystems, and a third of that, Ecological Biosystems, dealt with fire. You could put that system down, course down, and then we would give you a score of 1 or 2, indicating if it's a good fit or a bad fit. Now, if you want to make your case, you have to be sure to document this when you apply, that you put in this course, and that it is not a perfect fit, but here is what makes it a better fit than not taking the course at all. So in other words, you have to document enough to let us give you a score. Because if you do not put documentation down, we will give you a score of 0. And a score of 0 is BAD, bad. Because if you get a score of 0 in any of the core areas, you will not be certified. So you have to have a score of at least a score of 1, 2, or 3. So if you summed up the 7 core areas, you would get a maximum of 21 points. Passing is 14 of those 21. So if you did not meet any of those core competency coursework requirements, you can then, even a score of 1 indicates that you are still in the game to be certified. Please, if you have any questions on this, I know it's a little complicated, just put it in the chat box and we'll get to you later. All right, 2 years ago, various people that worked for the Forest Service, BLM, and so on, noted that they continue to take continued education, but it's always with the NWCG courses. And many of you have taken NWCG courses, and these NWCG courses now count towards core competencies. Appendix B in the guide will give you each of the NWCG courses, and then you can see in the fourth column over from the left, you can see whether or not we offer AFE credit for that course. So, it will also tell you how much credit you are able to get for that course. So now, if you take NWCG courses, and for those of you who don't know what these are National Wildland Fire Coordinating Group courses that are offered at 5 levels, and for the fire professionals, government fire professionals. And if you take these, you can get credit towards your competence. So that's the academic requirements. Now let's talk about the experience requirements. Only experience in fire ecology is emphasized. If you're going to submit for a fire ecology scientist or management position. Same with fuels and so on. So when you submit a CV, resume, or whatever, or you fill out the application on the website that Annie will give you later, you should be sure to document how much experience you had in the area that you're want to be certified. So if you choose to be certified as a fire ecologist, you make sure, and you say, you have to say, I spent 10% of my time doing fire ecology. I spent 20% of my time doing fire ecology. And that way we can give you a straight rating. So in other words, if you put in 10 years of fire ecology work, of a work as a wildland fire manager, and then you said at the bottom that my fire ecology work is 10% of that, we'll give you 1 year of experience for that. I want to emphasize that most people do not get certified because they didn't document the percent time doing the task in the application. I also want to emphasize that if you have a fire suppression job, and that job, because most of the people on the committee have, all of the committee has over 100 years of experience, fire suppression activities are only relevant on the initial pathways. And anything further on that is that there really isn't a certification for fire suppression activities except for our wildland fuel certification and and some of the managers. So be aware that it's important that you document for your pathway that you're applying at what is fire suppression activities and what isn't. Again, here, when you say 10% of my time was doing fire ecology work, that means that you get a score of 3. And that score of 3 is good for, the number of years that you've had in there. And then we also give you lower scores. And in the end, you have to have an average of 2 for every year of that you put in your application to qualify for the experience requirements. So over here, let's take a look at the wildland wildland fire manager. You can see that the core competencies, you have to have at least a BS or an MS in a fire-related field, and then you can see the minimum related experience. So if you have a PhD, you only need 3 years, MS, you only need 2, and if you have a BS, you need 8 years to get the wildland fuel manager. So again, it's better off if you ask questions later. I won't go into detail, and I won't go through these one by one, but you can ask later. Okay, I want to mention, let me go back to the other slide, is I want to mention that you can see we have the AFE Senior Wildland Fuels Manager, AFE Senior Wildland Fire Manager, AFE Senior Wildland Fire Ecologist. These are incredibly important because they are the top of the food chain. This is the highest certification we can get. The difference between the others and the senior and all the others is that you have to have a substantial and long-lasting contribution to the field. So those applying for the senior level certifications must demonstrate that they have made a major, substantial, and lasting contribution. You have to spend time to document this in your application, and you document it to show leadership, innovation, achievement, and scientific eminence. If you don't do this, you will not be certified at the senior level. So you can see in the table in the previous slide, you can see that the fourth column over is whether or not that substantial contribution is required. And it is required on our senior ones. So please, when you apply for the senior pathway, please document in the job what you did to make yourself a leader, an innovator, and high achievement and scientific eminence in the field. Okay, with that said, I'm going to give it over to Stephen Fillmore, and he's going to talk about the Wildland Fire Certification Program on the Wildland Fuel Certification Pathway. Go ahead, take it over, Stephen.
All right, I appreciate that. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, wherever you're at. I hate to start with a caveat. I throw myself at your mercy on my first day of a R&R, first morning of a R&R day after coming off my third fire. So if I'm a little fuzzy, that's the reason why. But I'm happy to talk about this. So really honored to be a part of putting together this fuel certification. I've been a professional fuels manager for 17 years with the U.S. Forest Service and some other agencies before that. Fuels is something that's pretty near and dear to my heart, and so for AFE to step forward and take the lead in being able to certify people that do engage in the work of fuels, I think is a long overdue recognition of that important work out there in the landscape. So just a couple things with this. You'll notice if you looked at that sheet that Bob had showed, that slide previously, the way that we approach the fuel certification pathways are slightly different than the existing certifications, specifically the fire ecologist and the fire manager certifications. And the reason we decided to take just a slightly different tact with that is just that fuels management is so experiential in nature. There's a lot of good people that I know and have worked with over the years, and I'm sure many of you also, that maybe lacking a bachelor's or anything higher than that, but also are very, very good at fuels management and are effective in their job. So we wanted to make sure that we incorporated their experience into that. And the way we did that was taking a dual pathway to the certifications for 2 of the 3 pathways. So with the fuels, there's 3 pathways, and then there's 5 certificates or certifications. There's the fuels technician, there's the fuels manager, and there's the fuels scientist. And similar to the existing certifications previous, there's the senior level for the manager and the scientist. So there's really just 3 pathways. And then in those first 2 pathways for the technician and for the fuels manager, you can approach that 2 different ways. One, you can demonstrate and narrate the on-the-job training that you do have, and we try to assist with that. I'll talk about that in a second. Or if you do have that bachelor's degree, minimum bachelor's degree that meets the 7 core areas that AFE has previously set up, then that's a way to it as well. And then of course we put a time period. So just looking at the fuels technician as an example, very simple to get to. It just requires either a 2 or 4-year degree or the competencies and 1 year of experience. And a lot of people can really meet that with the fuels technicians. It's really doable. So I wanted to talk about the way that we help. I know we don't have a slide for this, but if you go onto the AFE website and you look at the certification page, there's actually a couple what we call certification templates. I think they're called templates. Yeah, the templates for the core competencies. And what we've done there is we've tried to be very explicit about what are the core competencies we're looking for. It's kind of like a cheat sheet for folks. So for the fuels tech, I'm looking at this one right now, and the first one says 1.1, measure fuel loading, and then it says applicant narrative. And all you would need to do is just simply describe how you have measured fuel loading in the course of your career that contributes to you wanting to be certified and have that experience recognized. And then just on down the list. And so there are 5 different ones of these competency checklists if you decide to go that route, if you decide to go the route other than the education. And then from a scoring standpoint, we're just looking for 80% of those to be met, because we understand that, I'm here in San Diego. A lot of the work we do is in the brush component. I don't get to do as much of the timber component, although I have a little bit of experience in some timber components from previous jobs. So some people have more or less of things, and so we just wanted to make sure that it wasn't necessarily strictly 100% you made everything, just due to the variations of people's jobs. So Yeah, that's really the long and the short of it. It seems complicated. It's if you really dig into it, it's not really that hard, and we've tried really hard to make it simple for folks. So, and I'm definitely happy and be sticking around to answer any questions that I can. All right, Bob, hopefully I covered everything.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. All right. Just this year, this is the first year, is that if you had been certified, but it happened 20 years ago, and you want to prove to your employer that you are up to date in the field, we are now offering a recertification program. Now, I want to emphasize is that your certification in AFE is good forever. But many employers have called AFE and have said, you know, this person was certified in 1998, and there's been so many changes to the technology. How do I know that this person is up to date in their, in their knowledge and has done the continuing education to go ahead and be evaluated at what a fire ecologist does today? So now we allow a recertification process, and a recertification process is you may go ahead and update your date of certification on our website, and this will prove to your employer that you are indeed up to date. We are suggesting, we're not requiring, that you do a recertification every 5 years. A recertification is incredibly simple. It's all spelled out in Appendix C in the guidebook, and it's just where you document seminars, NWCG training conferences, workshops, symposia, some experience, and you can use this to go ahead and the requirements are relatively minimal. At least one of these things each year that you've been certified, and we'll go ahead and recertify you. All the details for recertification is in the training guide. Okay, I'd like to now turn it over to Annie, and I'll just go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and Annie will give you all the details on how you should certify when you decide to go.
Am I sharing my screen? You guys can see the website?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. So under programs on our website, if you go to certification and education, this is the main page for the professional certification program. This is where you're going to find a lot of the information that Bob and Stephen have been mentioning. The deadline for this year for being certified is October 1st. We have, under types of certification, there's a link to kind of a list of every certification and the minimum qualifications and the cost. So that's, I think, a really handy place to, it's kind of the table that Bob was showing, which is in the guidebook, but just spelled out in a different way. So you can go through that and make sure that you meet the minimum qualifications prior to starting your application. There's also a list of the core areas of study that Bob mentioned as well. All right, let's go back one page here. To apply, there is some instructions here, a link to the guidebook, which I also put in the chat window, a link to our AFE Code of Ethics, which by applying, you're agreeing that you've read and that you will follow the Code of Ethics. And then to apply, you're just going to click this link here, and then it takes you to the application. There's several pages of the application, and once you start it, you have to actually, complete it and submit it. If you have after you submit it, if you have a change, then you just need to email me to let me know that change. There's no way to go back in and change information in the application. But once you submit the application, you'll receive a copy through your email, and then you also get taken to our payment page if you're going to be paying online, or there's information if you're going to pay offline there as well. So because the application is lengthy and has a few pages, we've had some requests to have a PDF version or even a Word document. So under this application checklist, that's where you can find the links to that. So you can download those and then work on the application offline, and then come back and fill it all in. You have to do the application through the form I just showed you. Those are just to help you in your planning. And then I just also wanted to point out, these are the templates that Stephen referred to. So these are Word documents that if you're applying for one of the fuel certifications, you're going to want to download this and you will fill it in this Word document, and then you'll save this, and this is what you'll submit for the core competency section of the application. So that's where those are. There's 5 for each different pathway for that certification. Bob, anything else you want me to cover? Oops, sorry. Let me go back here.
Am I,
I will mention that the recertification information is on the website now. There's a list of all the activities there. There's a sample letter. Everything you need to know for getting recertified is on the website. And then once you are certified, this is where your name would be listed. So this is our list of all certified individuals by their certification level. And if you get recertified, since it's a new program, we don't have any examples to show you of this, but you know, say that Jay got recertified. It's 2011 was his initial year of certification, and then we'll put recertified next to that. So that's all I have, Bob.
okay, at this time, I'll go to the chat box and we'll start answering questions from Kevin. We got one for us senior people applying for senior certification. There were pretty much no fire-related courses back in the day, but I see you are giving some credit for WCG training. Yes, you can thank Ron Masters and Neil Sugihara for that. They worked tirelessly to get that in, and it was a big job, and now we get it, and so we can give you credit for that. I also have another comment, but I want to read Arnold Swartz's chat, is that I have a diploma in nature conservation and a higher diploma in forestry. This covers my career, 35 years. It does cover fire and fire ecology. Would that count towards me registering for a certification? Okay, one of the problems with our certification program is that many people from outside the U.S. that don't go to the same college or university systems that we have here in the U.S. don't do actual coursework in these things. And so we are currently working on a new way. This another one of our members, Dennis Carroll, is working on a new way to allow international people that didn't go to the university systems that we have here that actually give course credits. They're going to allow these people to go ahead, and we'll have another pathway. Another, you know, we had education requirements, we had experience requirements, and then we'll also have some other requirements that people can use to substitute for education. So to answer both Kevin and Arnold, what you could do is, if you wanted to try to get certified right now, we will definitely go through and go through your application and try to see if we can give you credit for those. Or you can wait a year, and by next year at this time, we should have a brand new system up for you that will make it a lot easier. I'll give you an example, is that one of my colleagues mentioned that they have spent 35 years in fire but never actually went to a college course, and they thought that they should get, what happened is that they graduated in anthropology and they never took any of the courses that they needed to go ahead and get certified for fire scientists. Well, Dennis Carroll is working on a way to give you credit for some of those college courses that don't really pertain. And then we are going to integrate our recertification continuing ed requirements to go ahead and try to get you certified through those continuing ed requirements. So that will not be up until next year. So I hope I answered Kevin and Arnold's question. And if I haven't, please use the chat box. And it seems like nobody else has a question. Does anybody else have one? Go ahead and you can unmute yourself and ask away right now. Okay.
This is, I have a quick question. This is Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So are there any future plans for the I mean, I know it's primarily a certification program, right? But are there plans at all moving forward to incorporate like training or classes or a conference or something that would is there a plan to offer something like that to people that are certified or that are part of the program?
Okay, so if you have already been certified, we have the new recertification program, and that allows you to put in training, conferences, and everything else and document it in a letter. And the letter is in one of the appendices in the guidebook. Oh, no, I think the letter is on the website that you can download and see an example letter.
Okay.
If you have never been certified and did not, and know you will not make the course requirements, you should probably wait a year and try next year so that you can go ahead and get credit for all that continuing ed you've done in the past so that we can allow that in. I will tell you that it is going to be, we are going to be stringent or very rigorous in our requirements. So it's one conference will not make that. You're going to have to do many, many things in order to get 3 credits of certification in the fire ecology. So it won't be as easy as it is like through the government.
Right.
It will,
And
but
so,
does that answer the question?
A little bit. I think the question too was whether there was any intention moving forward to put on a conference for this organization to put on something. Does that make sense?
Well, this organization, AFE, has a conference every year, I think it's the odd year. Well, no, but we have a regional conference and then we have a fire congress the next year. And so each year AFE has a conference. And I will tell you that at that conference, if you have been certified that year, your name will be announced and everyone will clap.
Okay.
Yeah, AFE has their own conferences, and Annie, do you want to add any of that? She is the conference extraordinaire.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's not, so right now there are no specific trainings or conferences that are just for certified individuals. So the events that we do are open to anyone who's interested to come. And like Bob said, we recognize the certified individuals you get a fancy name tag for your name badge, and you get recognized at our award ceremony for being certified that year. And there's lots of trainings and workshops and field trips and things to be involved with at those events, but it's open to anyone, not just certified individuals. And then on our website, we try to include things that AFE doesn't host in terms of the bigger conferences or trainings going on. We don't have the capacity to list out like regional trainings and things like that, but we try to give you ideas about different things that you could be involved in on the website, but they're more national or international in nature at this point.
When you go to this conference, you don't need to sign a form that said you've been there. We can check and see if you've been there. So it's just your presence at the conference is all you have to document. There is no other documentation.
Great, thank you.
Any other?
I'm just looking through the chat here, Bob, to see if I don't think that these are questions directly. I think we're a small enough group though that, like Bob said, if you have questions or comments and you want to unmute, we can also just talk, given that there's only like 15 of us on.
Okay, we got one from Mike. He says, I see references require at least one reference should be a member of the fire association. I do not know any references who are AFE members in South Carolina. I don't know what you're meaning by references. No one has to, you don't have to list someone to be a reference to get certified.
I think there is a section that's references on the application.
Oh, yeah, right, there
Maybe-
is, but we don't
yeah.
use that to, yeah, there is a thing, but you can leave that blank. I don't think we ever use that to whether or not you're certified or not. We might call someone to see, but we usually, if I could leave one word for everybody before you sign off, is that please document, document, document everything. And if you document enough, we can easily follow up with that. So references are not required but they are sure nice so that we can at least call.
Yeah, and Mike, you're welcome to reach out to me and I can let you know. If you wanted to list an AFE member that you know, I can help you with the membership. But yeah, like Bob said, it's not required. So that would be up to you.
So get those applications in. It's pretty cheap for a lifetime of recognition. Unfortunately, fortunately now, we were going to offer gifts, correct? If they got certified. I forget what it was.
Yeah, so we have AFE shirts and clean canteens and clean canteen pint cups. So for the folks that get certified this year, we'll send you a free gift with your, after you are approved for certification, you get a letter and a certificate mailed to you and a patch. So with that this year, we'll also send you a free gift.
Okay,
The
Carol,
cost of, oh, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Carol mentioned what's the cost of recertification. The cost of recertification is the pathway that the cost of the pathway, half of the cost of the pathway that you were previously registered. So if you were a senior fire ecologist, then, and that was $120, then the recertification is $60. What's the turnaround on certification? Okay, here's the guide timelines. We usually get certification by September. The committee then meets and we go over everybody's certification in November, and we pass the results of the certification to Annie so that she can announce them, or so that the AFE can announce them at the conference. So it's like that every year. Every year it's September 1st, November 1st is the meeting, and then they're announced at the AFE conferences.
Which is typically in the end of November. And then this year we've extended to October 1st for our deadline. We don't have an in-person event this year. So our timeline's we have a little more wiggle room, but you'll all be notified by December 1st at the latest. It'll likely be earlier than that, just depending on when the certification committee meets.
Yeah, so regardless, you will hear by December 1st, and under a normal year, you would hear before our conference. Any other questions? Well, I thank you all for attending. I hope this was helpful. I think we'll probably give this presentation at each of our conferences during a noontime thing or whatever, if people need it, and just to promote the certification program. Get certified, because it is the only way for you to be recognized as a true fire ecologist. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.